Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is SYAUQINA binti NORDIN, number matric 294542. In this digital era, financial technology, also known as fintech, has rapidly changed how we manage and spend money. One major innovation is Buy Now Pay Later, or BNPL. It allows users to make purchases and pay in installments, often without interest. In Malaysia, platforms like Shopee Pay Later, Atome, and Grab Pay Later are gaining popularity, especially among youth and students. At UEM, students are using BNPL for clothes, food, electronics, and other needs. While BNPL can provide short-term financial relief, it can also lead to overspending and poor money management. That's why this study is important to understand the real impact of BNPL on students' financial behavior. So 1.2, we are going to talk about background of study, where Buy Now Pay Later services are increasingly popular among university students as they offer an instant and convenient alternative to traditional credit systems. These services allow consumers to make purchases and defer payment through installments, typically interest-free. For students who often face cash flow issues or lack access to formal credit options, BNPL provides the perceived advantage of affordability and flexibility. However, while BNPL might seem like a financial solution for students, it could lead to unintended consequences such as overspending, poor budgeting, and long-term financial stress. This concern is supported by the national data as illustrated in Figure 1, based on statistics from the Consumer Credit Oversight Board, where Malaysia has seen a dramatic rise in both of the volume and value of BNPL transaction between Q1 2023 and Q1 2024. Transaction volume increased from 14 million to 29 million, while transaction value rose from 1.25 billion to 2.31 billion. This surge reflects growing consumer demand and rising trust in BNPL as a financial tool. However, it also indicates a rapid expansion that may outpace consumer education and regulation. The concerning trend becomes even clearer in Figure 2, which shows the total outstanding BNPL balance. The data reveals that BNPL users with a credit limit below 500 have nearly maxed out their available credit as of Q1 2024. This indicates that many users, particularly students, are relying on BNPL not just for non-essential items, but also for basic expenses like food and groceries. This shift from discretionary to essential spending using deferred payment schemes is alarming, and as it signals growing financial vulnerability among younger consumers. For 1.3, which is the problem statement, BNPL offers flexibility, especially for students at UEM who may only have a fixed monthly allowance or loan. But with this convenience, there's a risk. Students may start spending beyond their means, forget payment deadlines, and get into debt. This behavior is influenced by several factors: how often they use BNPL, how exposed they are to marketing, their financial knowledge, and how they feel about the safety and ease of BNPL. Many students think BNPL is risk-free, which makes them use it more often without thinking about the consequences. Sadly, there is very little academic research in Malaysia that looks specifically at how BNPL affects students. That's what this study aims to do, to understand the relationship between these factors and student spending behavior. In 1.4, we are going to talk about research question, which this study is guided by 4 research questions. So the first question is, what are the demographic characteristics of UEM students who use BNPL? The second is, do gender differences influence usage frequency, marketing exposure, financial literacy, and perception? The third question is, do differences in income or allowance affect these same variables? And lastly, do these 4 factors, usage frequency, marketing, literacy, and perceptions, have a significant relationship with students' spending behavior? Moving on to 1.5, which is our research objective. Based on the research question, this study has 4 main objectives, which is the first one is to examine the demographics of UEM students who use BNPL. The second is to investigate whether gender affects how students use and perceive BNPL services. The third one is to analyze how students' income or allowance influences their use of BNPL. And finally, to determine whether the key factors, which is BNPL usage, marketing, financial literacy and perception, are related to students' spending behavior. In 1.6, we are going to talk about the significance of the study. This study is significant because it helps different groups. For students, it raises awareness about how BNPL can affect their finances and help them make better financial decisions. For UEM, the university can use the findings to create financial education programs that suit students' needs. For BNPL service provider, the study gives useful feedback so they can design more student-friendly features and promote responsible usage. And for future researchers, this study can be a reference or foundation for further studies related to fintech, youth spending behavior, or digital finance. In 1.7 is the scope of the study. This research focuses only on undergraduate students at UEM who have used BNPL services like Shopee Pay Later, Atome, Grab Pay Later, and SPay Later. The study looks at 4 main independent variables: BNPL usage frequency, marketing exposure, financial literacy, and perception or future intention, and 1 dependent variable, which is spending behavior. Data was collected using a questionnaire and analyzed using statistical tools. The result apply only to UEM, not to all students across Malaysia. So the last section in chapter 1 is 1.8, organization of the study. This research paper is divided into 5 chapters. Chapter 1 introduces the topic and includes the background, problem statement, research questions, objective, significance, and scope. Chapter 2 presents the literature review and related studies. Chapter 3 explains the research methodology, including data collection and analysis. Chapter 4 presents the findings and analyzed using SPSS. And Chapter 5 concludes the study by summarizing the results, discussing the implication, identifying limitation, and providing recommendation for future research.
Assalamualaikum and hi, my name is Muhammad FARHAN, matrix number 29443. Now, I would like to present for the chapter 2, which is literature preview. In this chapter, we will review literature related to spending behavior and the use of Buy Now Pay Later, also called BNPL, among UUM students. It analyzed studies from journals, books, and articles focusing on key factors such as BNPL usage frequency, financial literacy, marketing exposure, and peer influence. This chapter also presents the research hypothesis based on these factors to guide the study. Now, we move forward to the 2.2, which is the theoretical background. In this research, we found 3 suitable theory, which is the consumer behavior theory, sociological theory, and the third one is the behavioral theory. In the consumer behavior theory, it explains why people buy things and how they decide what to buy when they don't have unlimited money. People try to get the most happiness or satisfaction from what they buy, but they have to stay within their budget. They also feel less happy with each extra item they get of the same thing, so they choose products that give them the best value for their money. For the second one, it is the sociological theory. This theory explains what we buy is influenced a lot by the people and culture around us, like family, friends, and society. It's not just about what we want, but about fitting in and showing our status. For example, people might buy expensive brands to be accepted or look good, even if they don't really need them. University students like those at UUM are influenced by their friends, campus life, and social media. And the last one is the behavioral theory. This theory explains in fact how university students think about spending money. BNPL lets students buy things right away and pay later, removing the worry about paying immediately. This makes it easy to spend more because students focus on the short-term pleasure and forget about future payments. This is called present bias, where people prefer instant rewards and underestimate how hard it might be to pay back later. For the 2.3, we will learn about the definition and concept for the independent variable, also known as IB. In this research, we have 4 independent variables, which is the usage frequency, financial literacy, marketing exposure, and the last one is the peer influence. For the usage frequency, Usage frequency means how often people use a product or service. For buy now pay later, it means how many times someone use BNPL to buy things each week or month. This shows how much BNPL is part of their everyday money habits. At University Utara Malaysia, UUM, and in Malaysia, many students use BNPL a lot because it's easy and quick to use. The second one is financial literacy. Financial literacy means knowing how to manage money well, both as a student and after graduation. At University Utara Malaysia, student learns how to budget their allowance, scholarship, and part-time income. They also learn how to save track, spending, avoid too much debt, and understand important money terms like interest rates and credit scores. The third one is the marketing exposure. Marketing exposure means how often college students see or hear about brands, products, or services through ads and promotions. At UUM, students get marketing messages from social media, campus events, online deals, influencers, and friends. And the last one is the peer influence. Peer influence means how friends and people in the same social group affect what we think, feel, and do. It happens when students change their behavior to fit in and be accepted by their friends. For the DV or dependent variable, we have one dependent variable, which is the spending behavior. For the spending behavior, it shows how students use their money to make purchases, including the choices they make about when and how to pay. For students at University Utara Malaysia, spending behavior in the context of buy now pay later means how often and why they use BNPL services to buy products or services now and pay for them later in installment. Now, we go to the 2.4, which is the research hypothesis. For the t-test is a statistical method used to compare the average, which is the mean value of two groups, to see if they are significantly different from each other. For example, hypothesis 1, there is no significant difference in spending behavior on BNPL services between male and female students at UUM. And the hypothesis 2 is there is a significant difference in spending behavior on BNPL services between male and female students at UUM. For the F-test, ANOVA, it used to compare the variance or spread or variability of two or more groups to see if they are significantly different from each other. For example, hypothesis 1, there is no significant difference in spending behavior on BNPL services across different years of study. And the hypothesis 2 is there is a significant difference in spending behavior on BNPL services across different years of study. For the regression, this method is used to understand and measure the relationship between one dependent variable and one or more independent variables. For example, null hypothesis, it says there is no significant relationship between the independent variables, which is BNPL usage frequency, financial literacy, market exposure, peer influence, and student spending behavior on BNPL services. For the alternative hypothesis, there is a significant relationship between at least one of the independent variables, which is BNPL usage frequency, financial literacy, marketing exposure, peer influence, and student spending behavior on BNPL services.
Good day to Dr. Tambiwah. My name is Nadhirah binti Salihin. Also, my meter number is 294884. So, I will continue to the next part, which is Chapter 3, Research Methodology. This chapter discusses the research methodology procedure in conducting a study entitled A Study on the Effect Buy Now, Pay Later BNPL Services on Spending Behavior among UUM students. The purpose of this chapter is to present a comprehensive explanation of the research process undertaken to ensure the validity, reliability, and relevance of the findings. So next 3 point, which is research frameworks. So for this study, we developed a research framework to guide the investigation in a structured way. It focused on how BNPL services affect UUM student spending behavior. The framework includes 4 key variables: usage frequency, marketing exposure, financial literacy, and students' perception and future intentions. These were chosen based on past research and the study's objective. Since students are financially sensitive and highly exposed to digital marketing, understanding these elements is very helpful to see how BNPL shapes their spending decision. So next, 3.3 Research Design. The purpose of our study is to see how BNPL affect UUM students' spending habits. We look at how often they use BNPL service, how much they see ads, and their financial knowledge and their opinions about BNPL services. So So, type of study. In this study, quantitative methods were used to identify the relationship and pattern between the independent variables and the dependent variables on student behavior toward the NPS services. Source of data. We use two types of data, which is primary data and secondary data. Primary data from the survey and secondary data like the total number of the UUM students from HEA. So, unit analysis. The unit of analysis for this study is the individual. Each respondent represents undergraduate students from University Utara Malaysia who will provide data based on their personal experience, perception and usage behavior related to BNPL services. Respondents will be selected from various academic colleges at UUM, specifically COB, CHAS also called. So, population frame. The population frame is all the undergraduate students in UUM from COB, CHAS and colleges. These are the students that we are focused in this research. This questionnaire for this research is made up for 31 questions and separate into 6 sections, which is section A, B, C, D, E and F, with each section corresponding to specific construct identified in the research framework. Section A, demographic information. This section is inquire about the respondent personal information, gender, race, age, current year of study and faculty. In addition, respondents were asked to indicate their monthly allowance and primary source of financial support to provide context regarding their financial background. So, next section B, which is spending behavior of UUM students. And this point is dependent variable. This section is designed to assess how BNPL influence students' purchasing decisions, financial planning and spending tendency. The main objective of this section is to measure student financial behavior and decision-making patterns in the context of BNPL usage, which serve as the dependent variable in this study. Next, section C, which is with usage frequency. This section focuses on how often students choose BNPL as their payment method, especially during online purchase. This section also explores student preference for BNPL over conventional payment methods such as debit card or online banking. Section D is marketing exposure. The question explores how social media advertisement, influencer or celebrity endorsement and promotional offers such as 0% interest or discount have influenced students' interest and trust by using BNPL. This section also investigates whether online advertisement encourage students to make unnecessary purchases or perceive BNPL as a convenient optional. So, next, section E, financial literacy. How will students budgeting, financial planning and the potential consequences of using BNPL. The items examine whether students calculate their budget before using BNPL, understand the risk of late payment and feel confident in managing their repayments items. So, next, section F, perception and future intentions. This is the last of independent variable for this research. F is designed to explore how students perceive BNPL services, whether they intend to continue using them in the future. So, next, 3.5, measurement of variables. We use a 5-point Likert scale from strongly disagree to strongly agree to measure students' views and behavior. The questionnaire has 6 parts, which is section A, B, and section C to F. Section A is a demographic info, and section B, spending behavior, which is dependent variable, and section C to F, usage frequency, marketing exposure, financial knowledge and perceptions on BNPL, which is independent variable. So, this is item for spending behavior of UUM students, and this is the section C for the usage frequency on BNPL services. And this is section D for marketing exposure on BNPL. And next is the financial literacy on BNPL. And for the last one, which is section F, perception and future intentions. For the 3.7 is the data collection. The primary data was used in this research, which we collected by using the questionnaire, and Google Form link was utilized to distribute the surveys to the UM students. And for the 3.8, which is data analysis technique, our group used technique description analysis, one-way ANOVA, independent sample t-test, and regression analysis.